So in this week's Inside Marketing, we're looking at a study, and believe it or not, this is from Cisco, who looked at about 3,000 college students and young employees around the globe, that millennials apparently will trade off less money for cool gadgets and access to social media at work. Believe it or not. What do you think, Shilpa? Do you believe it or not?
I do not believe it. I think it's borderline absurd, but it really is indicative of, I think, a much greater shift in the way we, the Gen X and Gen Y specifically kind of interacts with the world and what's around them and how they prioritize things. It seems pretty impractical to me, which, to some degree is very surprising given my personal take on both Gen X and Gen Y crowds. That being said, it definitely does speak volumes in terms of how our world is shifting and where we're headed as a society.
What do you think, Jeff? You're a youngster here. Are you going to take less money if we give you the latest iPhone?
Well, as the youngest member here, I think I have a unique perspective on this, and I'm going to say absolutely not. There's not a chance in hell that I would take less money just to be able to tweet at work. I do think it is interesting to look at it from kind of a company culture perspective. When maybe the way the kids are looking at it these days is, if I'm allowed to tweet at work and I'm allowed to go on social media and I'm allowed to use these cool devices, it is a better work environment, and maybe that's what they're valuing over the money rather than just the ability to tweet. Because if it's just the access to social media during work instead of getting more money, I just don't understand it at all.
First of all, this study needs to be taken with a grain of salt. It was done by Cisco, who is in the technology business. So promoting technology in the workplace is really important to them. The other thing to keep in mind is one of the parts of this survey was not just social media and smartphones, but also the ability to work from home. That was also one of the questions that they asked. And younger people are really valuing the ability to work from home and flexibility. So I think to what Jeff was saying, that having that type of a culture is really what's important to Gen X and Gen Y right now. Not so much the ability to tweet or go on Facebook, but it's more indicative of a much greater situation.
And it's interesting, there's a specific data point in the survey that just emphasizes what you just said. So 7 out of 10 college students surveyed believe it's unnecessary to be in the office regularly with the exception of important meetings. I think these college kids have to, maybe they didn't do an internship and they realized that most businesses don't really work that way. That's kind of a crazy stat. Now, I'm all for virtual workplaces, and if you're working on a project, go where you're going to get your work done. So I think most companies have learned to be flexible to a degree. Let me actually highlight a couple other stats here, because 33% said they would prioritize social media freedom and flexibility and work mobility over salary. So we're kind of as a group saying, welcome to the real world. Maybe you're going to discover that you can't pay your rent with your smartphone. Number 2, over half said that if they encountered a company that banned access to social media, so maybe this is an extreme case, they would either not accept a job offer or would join and find a way to circumvent the policy. So maybe this is, of all the different stats in here, there's a lot of cool stats, some of which we're taking with a grain of salt. The fact that I guess they feel like that strongly, that half would, not accept a job offer if they didn't get any access to social media, or they said they'd try to change the policy. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe this generation really not only is connected and wants more freedom, but they feel like they can change things. Again, maybe that's not realistic or not. I don't know, Shilpa, I'll give you the last word here. What do you think? Is that generation needs to grow up, or we need to sort of see how they lead the way into a more open, more connected, more social workplace?
I think a little bit of both. I think there definitely needs to be a reality check, just like you said. A cool iPhone is not going to pay rent. So that's kind of just, getting a taste of what the real world is and what kind of responsibilities you have to deal with. That being said, I think there is something to say about the change in mentality and, both the sort of remote working as well as just the ability to be online and be connected during the work hours. I think that also, it's kind of a give and take. And I think, the younger workforce really needs to prove that they're able to be productive while they're still connected to enjoy these types of freedoms, if you want to call it that.
We have to look at this data, because even if the truth is somewhere in between, sort of the extremes, this says a lot about sort of the changing face of the workplace. It says a lot about how we can market to people in the workplace if they're going to be connected all the time sort of on their private channels. Certainly those are marketing opportunities. So I think no doubt there's a lot of change happening here. We're going to see more and more surveys like this. Yes, this was sponsored by Cisco, but I suspect that the ground truth is somewhere in the middle, which means that a lot's changing.